countries illustrate the dynamics and tensions between tradition and transformation as clearly as China. While the Chinese Communist Party has radically reshaped the socio-cultural landscape through various macro-level policies and state social engineering pursuits, traditional micro-level values and social norms have endured the rapid modernization of the country and remain deeply influential driving forces within society. This presentation will comprehensively analyze continuity and change pertaining to family life and population, examine how these manifest at the micro, meso, and macro levels of society, and unpack the impacts on Chinese society as a whole. A major continuity within Chinese society is the enduring influence of Confucian family values. Traditionally, Chinese families emphasize collectivism, social harmony, and strong intergenerational responsibilities, all which continue to be both emphasized and expected in modern China. One key value is filial piety, zhao, a foundational Confucian virtue referring to the moral duty of children to respect and care for their parents. The principle has historically shaped the family unit, reinforced familial ties, and continues to influence family dynamics today. Confucian traditions also reassert patriarchal authority and clear generational hierarchies, with younger Chinese expected to show deference, submission, and unquestioning obedience for their elders. Although modernization has somewhat altered the nature of family structures, cultural expectations around elder care remain firmly entrenched in society. The Protection for the Rights and Interests of the Elderly Law, first enacted in 1996 and revised in 2013, demonstrates macro-level efforts to maintain filial piety as a core family value in the face of a changing socio-cultural landscape. This law, requiring adult children to provide financial support and regularly visit their aging parents, reflects the enforcement of social control and formal state sanctions, seeking to maintain a foundational value of the micro-level Chinese family unit, thus illustrating macro-level efforts to limit the dilution of traditional practices amid rapid modernization and migration, reflecting the functionalist view that institutions adapt to maintain social equilibrium. The concerted effort to maintain the continuity of core family values can be observed across the micro, meso, and macro levels of China. At the micro level, individuals are socialized from a young age to respect elders and prioritize family obligations, embedding expectations around caring for parents within personal and social identity. At the meso level, elder care community services are still limited, underfunded, and largely stigmatized, demonstrating Ogborn's cultural lag, where social attitudes don't align with infrastructure capabilities, thus reinforcing micro-level obligations around filial piety. At the macro level, laws and formal sanctions reinforce the maintenance of filial piety within the Chinese family unit, thus demonstrating the multifaceted approach to preserving this continuity. Although traditional familial values have endured and remain prominent in society, the Chinese family unit has nevertheless been somewhat transformed due to structural changes in recent decades. Extended multi-generational households have become far less common, with nuclear families emerging as the dominant structure, resulting from a combination of state social engineering along with cost of living and migration realities. Modernization and urbanization have also influenced social norms, with many young Chinese choosing to delay or altogether reject marriage and childbirth, placing individualistic values over traditional family norms. The empowerment and subsequent transformation of the female identity within Chinese society has also resulted in a micro-level shift, contributing to altered family structures. Such changes reflect broader economic and social transformation within China, with social mobility and higher standards of living altering traditional values and patterns of family life. The one-child policy introduced by the CCP in 1980 can be viewed in many ways as a catalyst of drastic changes in family life. The manifest function of the policy sought to quickly restrict and control rapid population growth while supporting economic development via limiting most Chinese families to one child. This state social engineering initiative successfully exercised the CCP's power and authority over reproductive decisions via formal sanctions, but though it effectively reduced fertility rates, the manifest and latent consequences inadvertently changed Chinese family with tangible disruptions to family structure, socialization patterns, and identity formation. Phenomena such as the Little Emperor Syndrome and 4-2-1 family structure emerged, placing millions of Chinese children in an environment where they were overindulged, but also equally overly pressured as the sole recipient of parental and grandparental attention, and the sole bearer of familial obligations upon assuming adulthood, responsibilities previously distributed amongst many siblings. The broader impact of the OCP and enduring son preference have continued to plague the contemporary Chinese family via the gender skew resulting from the policy, with approximately 110 males born for every 100 females as of 2023, resulting in significant disruptions to marriage norms as well as rates and producing bare branches men who are unable to get married due to fewer women and generations of empowered female single children who possessed greater levels of education and empowerment, thus allowing them greater life choices and prospects outside of matrimony. As with the gender skew, the 4-2-1 family structure has transformed the nature and role of the Chinese family unit, placing the collective economic and emotional burden on single children raised with individualistic traits, making marriage and childbirth undesirable or unsustainable pursuits for younger Chinese. Though the 4-2-1 family structure continues to demand traditional Chinese values and familial norms, conflict theory highlights micro-level tensions over conflicting attitudes, limited resources, caregiving burdens, and contemporary pressures, all with the potential to permanently reshape the Chinese family unit. Effects of changing family norms, some of it potentially irreversible, have been felt across all levels of Chinese society. At the macro level, declines in marriage, birth, and population rates have strained national resources and pushed the CCP to announce progressive birth-friendly measures, replacing firm coercion with gentle persuasion. At the meso level, smaller family sizes have resulted in increased pressure on community institutions and workplaces to support elder care. At the micro level, individuals, often only children, continue to face high parental expectations around education, marriage, children, career success, and future elder care responsibilities. A significant change shaping contemporary Chinese society is the transformation of its population, both nature and structure, resulting in key demographic shifts arising from state social engineering pursuits, including a declining birth rate, rapidly increasing aging population, and notable shifts in population distributions, specifically internal migration. Macro policies, meso-economic development, and micro-changing social values have unwittingly worked in tandem to transform the country's socio-cultural landscape dramatically. Population change has been further exacerbated by rapid urbanization over the past decades, which saw millions migrating from rural China to cities in search of employment and upward social mobility, contributing to economic growth but also unsustainable pressures on housing, infrastructure, and services. The Hukou household registration system, which classifies citizens as either rural or urban based on their place of birth and consequently limits their access to public services, brought about social dislocation that further perpetuated these points of tension, resulting in phenomena such as the left-behind children and the floating population, referring to rural migrant workers who live and work in urban areas away from their family unit, but remain socially and legally classified as rural residents. From a functionalist perspective, population policies and systems such as the Hukou were designed with the manifest function of maintaining social stability and regulating population growth, particularly in urban settings. Lassen's effects, however, created new demographic dysfunctions, resulting in widespread overhaul of the Hukou system and local government initiatives, aimed at addressing cost of living pressures, thus demonstrating the adaptiveness social institutions must embrace to maintain societal equilibrium. In response to demographic change resulting from an OCP-produced declining birth rate that was beginning to felt the evident threats to economic growth and social cohesion, China introduced the Two-Child Policy, 2CP, in 2015, and the Three-Child Policy, 3CP, in 2021 to address low fertility rates and a shrinking workforce as well as an aging population pressure. Whilst the 2CP caused short-term rise in birth, with 2016 showing a 7.9 increase in birth rates and roughly 1.3 million additional babies born, it was only a temporary growth, with the birth rate declining again between 2016 and 2017, and fertility rates remaining below replacement levels. The 3CP was then introduced to address these continuing dysfunctions and demographic imbalance, with the revamped birth policies promoting incentives such as childcare support and parental leave. However, despite pro-fertility nature of the policies, economic pressures, urban lifestyle, and an increase in individualistic social norms, as well as attitudes towards family size, have kept birth rates low, demonstrating Ogben's cultural lag theory in action. The complexities of demographic transformation is illustrated in the impacts of these population changes at the micro, meso, and macro levels of society. At the micro level, couples are choosing to have fewer children or none at all, due to increased responsibilities and obligations around the support and care of multiple elderly relatives. Rural Chinese also face additional conflicts between choosing social mobility prospects due to Hukou restrictions or growing their families, assuming they can marry at all due to the gender skew. At the meso level, demographic shifts have placed increasing institutional strains on local governments, healthcare, and workplaces that have had to adapt to a growing elderly population and changing labor force patterns. At the macro level, population aging and lower fertility rates, in tandem with falling marriage rates, create economic challenges and threats to the CCP's power and authority. Whilst efforts have been made to dismantle long-standing socially engineered policies such as the Hukou and amend population policies, other counterproductive measures such as regressive amendments to marriage and divorce laws run the risk of further cementing these demographic challenges. In conclusion, China illustrates the delicate balance by which continuity and change coexist within family life and population patterns. While traditional Confucian values such as filial piety and familial obligation persist, governmental doctrine and policies have significantly transformed family and population structures in the country. These changes show how macro-level forces reshape micro-level family life, even as cultural traditions remain resilient. Rapid policy and economic shifts have outpaced social and cultural adaptation as per Ogben's cultural lag. Ultimately, maintaining long-term stability will require close cooperation between all levels of Chinese society to balance traditional values with ongoing demographic and social transformation. Thank you.